Hello, world. For those of you who don't know who I am, which is probably all of you, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Catherine. I'm a librarian from the middle of nowhere, Wyoming, and I have decided that 2019 will be the year that I finally start my BookTube channel. I have always wanted to do BookTube, but I haven't really had the means or the time for it until now, so I'm gonna go ahead and just plunge right in and hope for the best. The first thing you may be wondering is why you can't see my face and all you can hear is my voice. And I have a few reasons for starting off this way. We'll see how things go, but primarily just I have a lot of issues with acne and facial tics, and I just didn't want it to be a distraction for y'all while I'm trying to discuss my thoughts on various books and what have you. So for now, my face will not be shown. I am going to probably use like a picture of some cute nature or other in the background in the meantime to tide us over. Like I said, maybe if things go decently well, I might change my mind, but you know, for now, this is how it's going to be. Also, I would like to apologize in advance for any banging noises you might be hearing in the background. My heater is obnoxiously loud and I can't do anything about it, so sorry. It's just gonna be there. There's no place in this apartment that I can record that it will not be heard. So I'm sorry, but it is what it is. As far as my bookish habits go, I tend to read a lot of young adult fiction, which I think is actually kind of common for someone my age. I'm 23, and I have tried to branch out into adult fiction as I'm getting older, and every now and again I'll find something that I like, but really my heart is just with the young adult genre. And young adult has really taken off in the last several years, especially like in the fantasy genre. I wish that 13-year-old me could read the books that are coming out nowadays, because I was a huge fantasy person back in the day. And 13-year-old me would love all the young adult that's coming out nowadays. But alas, I'm kind of branching away from from fantasy. As I get older, I tend to prefer more contemporary stuff, more real life social issues, to an extent. I don't like to get like too into it. That's more the nonfiction realm, but I like to what's it called? Diverse books. We need diverse books. I like to read stuff like that nowadays more so than fantasy. Every now and again, I'll find a fantasy that I enjoy, but for the most part, I prefer contemporaries. I've wanted to do BookTube for quite a while. I think the first time I really thought about it was when I was probably a senior in high school, which would have been almost 5 years ago now, which is crazy. But I first started really thinking about it when I was around 18, and I liked the idea, and I always really liked watching BookTube, but I didn't have the means to like actually make my own videos, so I just would talk to myself and talk to anybody who would listen about books, and it worked out okay. Especially in the last year, though, I've gotten my first smartphone, which helps a lot with issues like this. So I decided that as soon as it hit January, because I decided for 100% certain that I wanted to do this about halfway through the year in 2018, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wait until 2019. That way I can just start fresh. New year, new channel, whatever. So here I am, me and all of my lovely vocal glory. I've called my channel Baker Street Bookworm because Sherlock Holmes is my thing. If there is one trope or trend or whatever the word is that will get me to pick up a book, if Sherlock Holmes is in the title or in the description or is like an inspiration for anything, I will pick it up and read it without fail. I love Sherlock Holmes to death. He is the greatest fictional character of all time. I love him so much. So Baker Street Bookworm. And my cute little worm, which you've probably already seen either as my channel icon or in the background somewhere, is my little Sherworm Holmes. He's been very graciously drawn for me by a friend of mine named Devin, otherwise known as Eternal Kage online. I'll link his DeviantArt in the description down below. I was trying to find just like a little clip art worm, and I didn't find anything that I liked. And my friend Kage is really good at art, as you can tell, and he very graciously sketched my little Sherworm Holmes for me, and he's the cutest thing ever. I could not be happier with how he turned out. So huge shout out to Kage. Thank you very much for drawing my little channel icon. I appreciate it. So for those of you who have kind of followed me over here from my blog, you all will remember probably, well, actually, I guess last year at this time, I had set out to read, or I had set out some goals, some reading goals for myself for 2018. First and foremost was to read 35 books, which I did, barely, but I did it. And then I had 5 other personal reading goals, which was to read more nonfiction, get into the habit of quitting books that I wasn't enjoying, continue/finish series that I had already started, read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy for the first time ever, mind you, and to reread favorite books and authors. And I read all of one nonfiction book last year. It was very insightful, though, I will say. I'm not going to mention what it was. If you're really curious, you can find out on my blog, but it was good. It was insightful. I enjoyed the read, but that was the only nonfiction book I read in the entire year, so that was kind of a fail. Getting into the habit of quitting books that I wasn't enjoying was much easier. I DNF'd probably 5 books last year at various stages of progress. I had to do so much required reading for school, which I enjoyed. I was actually one of those weirdos who liked school and liked reading and liked my English classes. But I had to do so much required reading for school that whenever I graduated from college, it didn't register fully in my brain that I didn't have to finish books if I wasn't enjoying them, because in high school and college you got to finish them whether you like them or not. You just have to power through. And so I had that power through mindset as I was going into my beyond college life, and I finally last year was like, you know what? I don't have to finish books if I'm not enjoying them. What's the point of wasting my time on something I don't like? So I got into the habit of quitting books that I wasn't enjoying. I DNF'd quite a few, and I'm okay with that. I don't really regret DNFing any of the books that I DNF'd last year. As far as The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy goes, I finally picked it up for the first time ever last year. My dad is not a reader. He doesn't read. I don't think he's read an entire book cover to cover since the day he graduated college. But the one book that I have always heard him talk about my entire life has been The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So last year I made it a goal to finally sit down and read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And my plan, silly me, going into it was just to read the first one, and if I liked it enough, I would continue on. I had no idea that when you sit down to read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, it is a commitment. So after I read the first book, of course, I immediately picked up the second one and so on. So I've read the entire saga now. I feel enlightened, and it was so great. I loved it so much. It was so funny. As far as this year goes, 2019, I really don't have any reading goals for myself necessarily this time around. My Goodreads goal is 35 books again, like it was last year. The only thing I can really think is that it came to my attention late last year that for as big of a mystery fan as I am with Sherlock and Watson and Barker and Llewellyn, for as huge into the mystery genre as I am, I've never read an Agatha Christie novel in my entire life, and I'm like, how have I made it 23 years without reading Agatha Christie? So I think the only thing I can definitely say is that I definitely want to read an Agatha Christie novel this year, and I actually have one picked out already. It's not Murder on the Orient Express. It's something that was recommended to me by one of my coworkers at the library. as I think it's book one in like a Holmes and Watson style mystery series, I believe. I don't really know because, like I said, I don't know very much about Agatha Christie at all, but I do want to read something of hers this year. But that is like the only thing I feel committed to. I do have quite a few books that I'm looking forward to this year that are going to be published this year. The first and foremost being Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen McManus. Karen McManus was the author who wrote One of Us is Lying, which was my number one pick for 2017. It was the greatest, I am telling you, again with the mystery, but I loved that book so much. It was so intense, and I cannot rave about it enough. If you haven't read One of Us is Lying, you need to read it. Please, it is amazing. In addition to Two Can Keep a Secret, some other, I'm not going to list all of the books that I'm specifically looking forward to, but just a couple of highlights. There's a book coming out called Tell Me How You Really Feel by, I don't even know how to pronounce this name, Amina May Safi, I think. It's like a Pride and Prejudice retelling, which I'm very much looking forward to. There's also book 4 of the Warlock Holmes series, which I'm super, super excited about. That's coming out in May. Once and Future by Amy Rose Capetta is going to be coming out this year. Very excited for that. And most recently, I just found out about this book that's coming out called The Love and Lies of Rukhsana Ali. I am so sorry if I am not pronouncing the name right. I am terrible. I'm sorry. By Sabina Khan, that I'm looking forward to as well. Those are just some highlights. I've got a list of like 20 books that I'm waiting for. I think that that's all I really have to say for this very first video. The only other thing I can think is defining to you guys what my TBR is, what it looks like. Every reader has a different type of TBR. My TBR is books that I own but have not read yet. Currently on this list, I've got 21 books, and I've got a 22nd one that's pre-ordered, and it's on the way for me. I got it with a Barnes & Noble gift card that I got for Christmas. Thank you to my grandparents for that. Another goal of mine, my goal every year is to erase as much of my TBR as humanly possible. And last year I did better than I had ever done. But of course my TBR is always growing because various holidays come up and just impulse buys and yeah. Anyway, but I'm not as out of control as some booktubers out there. So I think that all things considered, 21 actually isn't that bad of a number. If you are curious though, I've got Prairie Fire, Lies We Tell Ourselves, The Marked Girl, The Lives of Tao, which is actually something that one of my English teachers in high school recommended to me while I was still in high school, and I own it now, but I still haven't read it. I'm a terrible person. City of a Thousand Dolls, Even the Darkest Stars, Console Wars. That's for my own personal nerdy reasons. I'm a Sega fangirl. Anybody who knows me knows that I love Sonic the Hedgehog and Sega and all of that. So Console Wars is like a history of the battle between Sega and Nintendo in like the 80s and 90s when console wars were still like a huge thing. I've got Everless, Hate List, It Looks Like This, The Burning Sky, The Nightingale, which I'm actually currently reading, My Man Jeeves, As Old as Time, A Study in Charlotte, The Bear and the Nightingale, The Game of Hope, Juliet Immortal, Romeo Redeemed, The Demon King, If You Don't Have Anything Nice to Say, and I've got a book coming in for me. It's on pre-order. It's called Pitch Dark. That'll be number 22 when it arrives. Currently, I am reading The Nightingale, and I forgot to mention I'm also reading Lies We Tell Ourselves. Those are the only two that I'm reading so far. We're gonna see. I'm doing okay as far as not reading 5 books at once, because I'm really bad at that, but we'll see how long that lasts. Anyway, for now, that's all I've got. For this very first, very rough introduction video, I think this was okay. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to put my Goodreads link down below. I'm also going to put my friend Eternal Kage, who drew my little Sherworm Holmes. I'll put his link down below so you can go check out his art and support him because he's awesome. And yeah, I think that's about it. So thank you very much for listening, and I will see you next time.